It is week 12 of the NFL season, and it's winter go home time for a lot of us. Some of you may be getting ready to punch your ticket to the fantasy playoffs with a win this week. Some of you are fighting for survival, and hey, some of us, they're fighting for the 1 seed. So we all have something on the line pretty much at this point in the NFL season. And when it comes to fantasy football, nailing running backs in weeks like this is critical. We have 6 teams on a bye. It is no joke. So on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we have the only running back rankings that will matter. Is that it? Is that our title, Aiden? Is it?
These are the only ones that matter.
Are they the only ones that matter? Yeah, that seems a little presumptuous. A little presumptuous. You could be subscribers to establish the run. I think those matter too. But we got to have you guys click on the thumbnail. This is YouTube. This is how it works. I'm your host, Sean Moran. I'm joined by my co-host, my good friend, my fellow knower of ball, Aiden Holler. Aiden, man, how we doing today, dude? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yeah, man, recording on Friday is always a nice treat. Yeah, we've gotten our real jobs out of the way, and now we get to hang out and talk ball. So, yeah, coming off a pretty messy Thursday night football game. Yeah, there was actually some surprising good points in that game. They scored like 30 points in the fourth quarter in a blizzard, which was absolutely nuts to me. But yeah, if you owned Chubb, Jerry Jeudy, even a spot start with Jameis, there were some points to be had. So that was a fun game. How you doing, Sean?
I'm good. You know my rule of thumb with those games. It's all about wind. Snow, it plays a part. Like you saw it a little bit, but it's all about wind. Yeah. If it's super windy, they can't throw the ball. No wind. You're still going to see some points. So the Snover felt like a fun bet. I know a couple of our friends ended up going with the Snover, so I'm glad it hit home for them. I am good, dude. I am good. I cannot complain. It is a Friday. The sun is out. I've got a whole weekend of chilling, doing nothing. It's almost Thanksgiving. One of my all-time favorite holidays because of the football we get on Thanksgiving. So, dude, things are good, man. I cannot complain. I've got some teams with a lot on the line this weekend, as always, and it feels good just to compete, dude. Just gotta get out there and compete. Nothing better. So today's episode, running back rankings. I've got the top 40 ranked. Aiden has tiered them, so we're gonna go tier by tier. If you are new to our ranking show, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I'm gonna go tier by tier. We're going to stop. We're going to try and talk through most guys here on the rankings. If we don't get to a specific guy, tough luck. I don't know. We're pretty dialed in on talking at least about pretty much every single valuable running back on the slate this week. My rankings are powered by a bunch of different factors. I use implied team total rank. I look at fantasy points per game over the past month, expected fantasy points per game over the last month, how efficient a player is, the defense they're going up against in terms of their rank versus running backs. I create an RTM score that essentially tells me who has the best matchup in usage on the slate, and then I've got a projection. And we use that to power the rankings, and we compare it against Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings, which I will refer to ECR. A lot of the times when we go tier by tier, I call out guys that I'm higher or lower on versus ECR. But before we do that, Aiden, I know there are people out there, first time watching us, clicked on a video. What should they expect in today's episode?
Yeah, first of all, welcome to the channel. Good to have you here, part of the Mean team here. Our rankings are pretty straightforward. We're going to go tier by tier, break down a couple of the guys. We don't hit on every single person, but we'll be screen sharing. The links to the rankings are in the description anyway, so if you guys want to get more into it, feel free to dive in. It's going to be time-stamped as well, so you'll see who's in what tier. Yeah, feel free to skip around, see what you like. Keep it pretty light here. We're going to give you some stats. Sean's got a bit of a kind of algorithm, as you will, that takes into account a couple of different data points here to kind of give us some insight as to who we like. So just, enjoy the show. Like, comment, subscribe, what you guys are feeling. But excited to have you here and walk you through our rankings this week.
It's the good stuff right there from Aiden Holler. Tip of the cap, as always, good sir. All right, we're going to dive into things with tier 1 running backs 1 through 5. I think these are kind of the undisputed 5 on the slate this week. I feel kind of good about these 5 every single week. One guy here I have my questions on, but we'll get to that in a second. So running backs 1 through 5. He's running back 1 this week. I don't think I've put him at running back 1 in probably a month or two. But that's Devin Achane here for the Miami Dolphins. Saquon at RB2, Christian McCaffrey RB3, Joe Mixon RB4, Derrick Henry RB5. So I'm going to pause here. Achane at 1 this week. He's going up against New England. New England is surrendering the 10th most fantasy points per game to running backs. He has the RB8 usage with the RB2 production over the past month. And the Dolphins are projected for the 3rd most points on the slate from over at Vegas Sportsbooks. So, man, this is a home game. They're not playing in the cold. Tua's going to be dialed. Their defense is playing really well. Dolphins just look like a pretty good team right now, all things considered. I think this could be Achane's best game of the season. So I'm pretty pumped for him. But it is tough to rank him over Saquon Barkley. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Achane over Barkley, or do you think I've got that right this week?
I think it's pretty fair. When you look at Devon Achane's game logs with Tua healthy, he's the running back 1 on a points per game basis this season. If you're looking at PPR scoring, a lot of it comes in the passing game. We know that. I think Saquon's the better rusher here, but yeah, when you just look at the overall touches and volume of work he gets in that offense with Tua healthy, and you mentioned it too, home game, the warm weather there in Florida, I think this could be an absolute monster spot. New England is in the kind of bottom half in terms of teams against running backs in fantasy. So I really like this spot for Achane. I think we could see a monster week.
In terms of Saquon, Devonta Smith just got ruled out. I could see more targets to Saquon Barkley with Devonta Smith out. I will say their pass rate has been super low. They're very run heavy, good defense. Saquon's the identity of their offense. So regardless, I think that just ups his ceiling a bit with someone like Smitty likely missing time.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey returns usage pretty good so far. He's got top 12 usage, about top 20 production. It's kind of been the name of the game for everyone in this offense outside of Kittle and Juwan Jennings. It's just kind of been underproducing based off of usage. I will say that Brock Purdy did not practice today. It looks like he's trending towards not playing. If I had to guess, if Brock Purdy doesn't play, it sounds like they're going to start Brandon Allen, not Josh Dobbs. They love Brandon Allen. I don't really get it. With Brandon Allen playing, I would assume a lot of checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey. Would not be shocked if he had 6, 7, 8 receptions in this game. That has checkdown Charlie written all over it if Brock doesn't play. Mixon has been the RB1 in production over the past month. He's looking explosive, probably the best he's ever looked in his entire career. Tennessee's been pretty good against the run. I don't know.
So was Dallas.
Yeah.
So was Dallas, he's been ridiculous.
Game environment is interesting for this one. I could see this one being low scoring between Tennessee and Houston. So that's the only reason I don't have him higher. And then Derrick Henry, tough matchup against the Chargers, but he scores a touchdown every week in perpetuity. He's a negative regression candidate, RB2 usage, fringe RB1 production over the past month, but it hasn't really mattered. He just keeps scoring touchdowns. So Yeah,
I do think the latter is in danger this week. That's a really good rush defense. It's almost the best in the league. So we'll see.
It's been so autumn. It's just inevitable.
I think he's good. Yeah, like if they get to the 1 yard, it's like the tush push. Like you get to the 1 and Derrick Henry's going to score. And then he's still breaking some longer runs anyways. I think the guy that I'm most excited though in this tier to watch is actually Christian McCaffrey. Like you mentioned, I was kind of looking at his game logs as I actually haven't watched much over the last 2 weeks. He's been more productive than I thought. But he's still, he's averaging 15 points.
Yeah, the usage has been there
over the last 2 weeks. Like I thought it was worse, to be honest. So I think we could see a big spot here. I think regardless if it's Purdy or it's Allen, I think they're going to have to lean on him this week. The Packers aren't phenomenal by any means against the Packers, but I don't think Brandon Allen throwing the ball 30 plus times is probably the recipe to beat the Packers. So I'd assume Christian McCaffrey scores first touchdown of the year and gives us a pretty healthy outing.
That'd be pretty cool. I wouldn't be upset about that one. Let's hope that occurs for the 49ers. Tier 2 here for week 12. I got running backs 6 through 12. I've got James Conner, Kyren Williams, Kenneth Walker, Kareem Hunt, Josh Jacobs, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. So James Conner, in all of my underlying scores that I have here, is just popping off as a must start. His usage has been top 7 over the past month. His production top 10. Seattle is bottom 12 against running backs, and they've got a top 7 implied team total rank on this week. Everything pointing towards a very solid James Conner matchup here and opportunity for him. My only question, though, is how involved is Trey Benson after the bye? Benson's usage has been picking up. This is a run-heavy team, so I don't necessarily think that really hurts James Conner, but it does hurt his ceiling when you're trying to get him into the top 6, top 7 of running backs. So I'm confident about James Conner, but Trey Benson is lurking. He is lurking. So something to keep an eye out this week. Do you have any thoughts on Benson versus Conner before I get to the rest of it here?
I'd like to see more Benson.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, the usage has been increasing. Do I think he's like a huge threat? No, not yet. James Conner has looked, as good as he has recently. Breaking tackles, picking up positive yards pretty much every single play. So not too worried about him. Really excited to watch both running backs in that game in terms of Conner and Kenneth Walker. I think both defenses they're playing are on the softer side in terms of allowing points to running backs. So also factor in it's supposed to be raining, it appears. I've kind of been monitoring it. It's looking like it'll be some sort of
Light
wet
drizzle?
conditions. Yeah, we'll see closer to kickoff, but I think if we get any like serious type of rain pour, expect both teams to lean on the run even more so. So keep an eye on that one before game time.
Yeah. And another guy in this matchup, Kenneth Walker, who I've got at RB8 this week, very similar to James Conner. It's just the usage hasn't been as good. The usage for Kenneth Walker has dropped. He's got RB16 usage, RB28 production. We're going to hint on this on the wide receiver episode, but Jackson Smith and Jigba is starting to take over in this offense. I got to see it firsthand that when they started to throw the ball to him, their offense was unstoppable. So curious to know if this rolls into next week, but JSN is a target hog, taking a lot of potential underneath stuff that was going to Kenneth Walker. However, Kenneth Walker remains the clear workhorse. Zach Charbonnet is firmly in the backseat. I think actually Kenneth Walker is one of my favorite starts this week in all of fantasy. So I'm excited to see what he does. Kareem Hunt.
What a spot. What a spot.
This is a spot for Hunt. His RTM score is second on the week. He has the highest projection in my model. I wrote this note before Pacheco got ruled out. Pacheco's out. This is a smash spot for Kareem Hunt. So if you got him, enjoy it. You might go out with a bang for his workhorse role that he's got here. Outside of that, I really like Josh Jacobs. Nick Bosa probably not playing for the Niners this week. Josh Jacobs has been top 5 in production over the past month. He looked awesome against the Bears as a receiver and as a rusher. Feel really good about him. And then both the Lions guys are setting up to be in a pretty juicy matchup against a beatable Indianapolis front 7. Anyone here in tier 2, Aiden, that you want to address or speak in your language?
Yeah, you mentioned Josh Jacobs. I think he's on a bit of a heater himself. Scored over 20 PPR points in 3 of his last 4 games. So kind of see that resuming, whether it be 20 points or, he's by far and away, the lead ball carrier in that backfield. So he continues to get the majority of the touches. So excited to watch him. Tough matchup for Kyren. I forget if you mentioned him, but
tough
a bit of a
matchup for
scoring
Kyren.
drought, which has affected his fantasy output lately. It's been 4 weeks now without finding pay dirt, and it does not get any easier against the Philly defense. That is pretty tough all around, both in the air and on the ground. So
Kyren's tough because he's no longer getting targets because Kupp and Puka are back.
Yep.
So there's really no need. Stafford's such a good quarterback. He's got Kupp and he's going to get it to his guys, right? Yeah. There's really no need to give Kyren 5 or 6 dump offs.
Kind of his path to.
I will say his last game, I think he went 13 for 87. It's pretty impressive 87. I know a lot of people love to give him shit right now on Twitter, but he makes a lot of negative runs turn positive. He's not explosive, but he's a good running back. But yeah, you're right. He's going to have to score touchdowns if you want that RB1 ceiling that he displayed to start the season.
Yeah, he's down to running back 9, so I wouldn't say sliding by any means, but he's below where you probably drafted him in terms of your running back rankings.
Yeah, it's probably he came in around that 6 to 9 range because the whole punt returner FUD. So
yeah, depending on but yeah, this is another good tier. And then just like quickly on the Detroit guys, this is going to be an awesome game. I think both teams are going to score a ton of points. Neither defense is very good right now. Sure, Detroit just blanked. What was it, Jacksonville the other week, but that's a really bad team. So I see this game being pretty productive for all of our fantasy guys. We're in a dome. Both offenses kind of humming. I think the Colts are coming off a really impressive game with Anthony Richardson. So like both of those running backs, they're pretty much both a threat to score at least once every game, which is awesome from your running back position.
If David Montgomery wasn't in the picture, Jahmyr Gibbs, what would you rank him this week?
Oh man,
weekly. Where do you think he'd be?
He's in that. He's in tier 1.
I'd have him at 2 or 1. I think I'd have him right at Saquon.
I think I'd have him like with Mixon.
Dude, if Jahmyr Gibbs got a full complement of touches, I do think he'd break fantasy football.
It'd be interesting, but we'll never see that because Dan Campbell wants to marry David
Montgomery. I get it. Hey, Monty's the shit.
Did you see who Campbell compared David Montgomery to this week?
I think it was Earl Campbell, right? Some nuts.
No, it was
Walter Payton.
Both of them. He said, but like what he said is true. Like there's not many running backs that like run as hard as David Montgomery, kind of like the old school guys. And yeah, he said Earl Campbell and Walter Payton. I was like, holy shit, this guy is so in love with David Montgomery. He's not going anywhere.
I think the way we think about running backs has to change, especially running backs on their second contract with new teams. I know it used to be like, oh, just write these guys off because they're old.
Defying all odds this year.
Or what if there was just a run where running backs came in the league that weren't that good and we're in a golden age of running backs? Like that 20, the Mixon, CMC, Saquon, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, like that whole range of running backs coming in the league were so ridiculously good.
Yeah, we got a little spoiled.
Like so good. Spoiled. So like maybe those guys are just not going to be bad when they turn 27 because they're all just really fucking good at football. So,
that's what we're seeing. Yeah, we're seeing Mixon, Saquon, Montgomery.
Dude, Derrick Henry's 30. Look at all these guys. These guys are all old. Kareem Hunt's old. Josh Jacobs is on his second contract. Yeah. He's on it with a new team, right? You got plenty of guys that are on new. J.K. Dobbins. James dude. Conner. So like maybe if you're just good. And this idea that now that 2 running backs get involved a lot now, it maybe keeps them fresh to an extent.
Yeah.
So, well, that's something to chew on in the offseason. We're going to move on to tier 3 here. Running backs 13 to 19. I got Rhamondre Stevenson at 13, J.K. Dobbins 14, Brian Robinson 15, J.T. 16, Tyrone Tracy 17, Aaron Jones 18, Tony Pollard 19. So Rhamondre Stevenson really quietly, top 6 usage, top 12 production. Miami is a run funnel. Hard to throw it on him, easy to run it on him. Drake May gives them a much higher team total rank than they've been having. So they cracked the top 20. Not great. It's still like bottom 6 or 7, but it's not bottom. It's not like New York Giants bad or Tennessee Titans bad, right? So something to keep in mind here with the Patriots. I like Rhamondre Stevenson this week. I do worry about a potential blowout. I feel really good about Miami at home in this one. So we'll see where this goes. J.K. Dobbins' efficiency starting to really fall off here, but this is a revenge game. So
it is a revenge game.
You got to boost him in the ranks. I'm boosting him in the ranks 6 spots because of revenge.
The Chargers are also just badass right now.
They're fun. They're fun. Good vibes
around the Chargers right now. So yeah,
good vibes.
I'm not fading that.
Harbaugh hasn't burnt anyone out yet. It's coming in like 2 years, but now it's all good. They're in the honeymoon phase for sure. Right now.
For sure.
Brian Robinson, I think he has about as strong of a bet to score a touchdown this week as anyone on the slate. I just really feel good about Brian Robinson getting in the end zone this week. Jonathan Taylor, good usage, bad production. Detroit stingy. He's due for positive regression. He's broken off a ton of explosives, so that's still in his bag. And I just like this offense a lot more with Anthony Richardson. But again, with JT, you're in this issue of where he's probably not going to get targets and he's going to get goal line looks stolen. So we'll see. I definitely do think he's a RB2 that gets ranked as an RB1 because of name brand. but he dominates in soft matchups, so this is a tougher one. So
This is a tough matchup for him.
I like Tyrone Tracy. Tommy DeVito takes a shit ton of sacks, but he was a check down Charlie to Saquon last year. So I would not be shocked if we see some of that to Tyrone Tracy. Sounds like the fumble after the at the end of that Carolina game isn't going to get Tracy benched. Sounds like that's his backfield from what Mike Kafka, their OC, was saying this week on Twitter. Aaron Jones is trending down, clearly hurt, but you can run on Chicago. And Tony Pollard. So this is a tough matchup for Pollard against Houston, but we've seen this when Tajay doesn't play, he gets like 20 touches. So Tony Pollard's a good play this week, in my opinion. I'll pause here. Anyone here in tier 3 speaking your language, Aiden?
Yeah, I think Tracy's probably my favorite guy in this tier. Tracy and B-Rob, but really excited for Tracy. Kind of the rookie bum coming out of the bye. He was already an 80% snap guy going into the bye. So really advantageous matchup. Like you mentioned, Tommy DeVito under center as well. So don't be surprised if they're doing, screens, short stuff, trying to, just get the ball out quick and, stay ahead of the chains. So love Tracy. And then B-Rob you mentioned too. Joe Mixon just ate their freaking lunch on, prime time this Monday. So, love him this week. The Tony Pollard one's hard for me. He's going to touch the ball a ton. I think we're going to need him to catch some passes,
which he's done.
Which I think he's going to do this week. But we'll see. This could be a weird game. Like you mentioned, that's another division where like when they play each other is just kind of like that gif like the two just like Rams just like butting horns and stuff. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, we're teetering into like the uncomfortable plays here as we get to the bottom of that tier. Like Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, you're like, man, like I probably have to.
You got to play him. 6 teams on a bye. Yeah, you got to play these guys. I'd say tier 3 is automatic. Tier 4 is like even automatic, right? So tier 4 is 20 to 28.
You're probably still starting these guys.
Yeah, 20 to 28. I got Chuba Hubbard, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, Austin Ekeler, Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, Javonte Williams, Jaylen Warren, and Rico Dowdle. So Chuba, I mean, the usage and production has been phenomenal the past month, but Panthers are, I think, the team with the lowest implied team total on the slate. Kansas City has been the toughest to running backs of any defense, and Chuba is now going to see a little John Brooks sprinkled in. Now, I think Brooks probably takes some Miles Sanders usage, so I wouldn't be surprised if, Chuba's usage stays relatively consistent, but there's a little bit of risk and uncertainty with Chuba this week. However, a lot of that can get wiped out, and he looks awesome. He just continues to be the Chuba Hubbard that he's been all season. So I wouldn't really be shocked. I'd still play him. Don't love it, but would do it regardless because Chuba's just been such a stud. Swift has got a groin injury potentially. He's got Rojo usage, and he's in a tough matchup. I just think this is a very uncomfortable spot for DeAndre Swift. We don't do a love-hate. I would have DeAndre Swift in my hate if he plays. Now, again, I'm going to rank him at 21. I'm not going to get like out of this people in this tier, I hate it. But I get why he's here in my rankings based off just projections. He projects pretty well. Najee Harris played last night. Did not look good. I know his ankles, he's injured, so he did not look good. We saw Jaylen Warren look really good last night. So I'm curious to know if that holds up. Najee projected really well based off of his usage over the past month, but we'll see how that holds up over the next month or so with the Steelers in this offense. Do you have any thoughts on? I know that you were kind of raging about the Steelers backfield last night in the group chat. Do you have any thoughts on what you saw? I know this isn't necessarily rankings, but just kind of your observation.
They just annoy me. They do the whole like drive switch thing, and it's just like super frustrating.
Warren played
that backfield. Like Warren looked better, but like they do the thing where they just like alternate drives. It's like I don't really get why coaches do that. Like it feels like you put your backs in the spots where they're more advantageous. Like I figured probably like Najee short stuff, first downs, goal line carries. Warren's kind of doing everything else, but that backfield's hard. You're kind of flipping a coin. Like it takes me back to last year with these two. It's you have no idea what's going to happen with this backfield anymore. Warren's definitely the better pass catcher. Looked better in general last night, but I don't know how much you can really take from that game. So, tough backfield to judge going forward. They're both going to finish probably, Warren will be an RB2. He had like 13 points. Najee's going to bust at ranking this week, but I think that's just what's going to be the case with them two going forward.
Najee's one of those guys where the more he gets, the better he looks.
Yep.
So it's like almost not to his favor when they like, because that was like a pretty 50-50 split. I'd have to look at the snap distribution, but
I got him at 39.
Najee was at 39 snaps.
39%.
Wow. Yeah, that Warren was the lead back last night. I mean, Warren looked awesome.
It felt, but in that game script, it felt like that had to happen.
Warren's such a good RB2 play moving forward in my opinion. Like,
if you went 7% of the snaps, scored a roll with 12.
If you went 0 and 0 RB and then Warren was like on the waivers, you're able to scoop him up. Like I love him as my RB2 and wide receiver heavy builds with like a hero RB because one, he's pretty good week in and week out at getting you like close to 10 points plus. And then if anything happened to Najee, the guy's like borderline
monster
RB1.
play.
Yeah. So he's one of those one injury guys that I really like. And then it's cold tiers kind of one injury way. Like Ekeler remains a good start. But again, the minute Jayden Daniels starts running again, I think Austin Ekeler loses some of that shine. Yep. He goes back from a kind of nice RB2 to being like a nice RB3, in my opinion, with a healthy B-Rob and a healthy Jayden. Jayden had 10 days off post-rib injury. You have to think they're going to have to start running him again because their offense is not even close to as good when he looks like this, not running the ball. Not even on design stuff. He's just not scrambling. So we'll see. It sounded like that was a pretty serious rib injury. Shout out to Jayden for playing through it. And there hasn't been a huge like drumbeat that he's playing hurt. I think people are just kind of figuring that out. So that's pretty big for a rookie to have that kind of injury and play through it. I think that's bullish for Jayden Daniels' toughness and just the way his teammates view him. Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, lot of energy about Sean Tucker getting more touches. I don't know.
I don't know why you would. Bucky's the best running back in that room.
Shad's playing better than him though. Shad's been awesome.
But yeah, it's like the three-headed backfield is just brutal.
It's just not necessary.
It's just unnecessary. So we'll see. I'm really excited for Bucky. Out of the two of them there, I just think like Bucky with the ball in his hands is just like so much better than either one of those guys. It's the eye test for me. I'm like, I watch Bucky Irving compared to Rachaad White, and I'm like Sean Tucker, and I'm like, yep, that's my favorite one.
We'll see with Bucky and this backfield. I think both are good plays between Shad and Bucky.
Yeah, I agree.
Manic usage for Javonte Williams. Is he the starter? Is he the third string? I have no idea.
It flips every week.
You're going to play him this week, though.
We thought we had Estime. We thought Estime was the guy. And no, he's not the guy. Pretty productive day for Javonte. He had 13 touches last week. 18 points. Pretty good. You're
going to play him. Regardless, like if you have him, you're probably playing him against the Raiders. You could run on the Raiders. Like the Broncos offense is ascending. You're gonna want him, in my opinion. And then Rico Dowdle. He's a clear RB1 in a really bad offense.
So, yeah, they need Daniel Jones.
Dude.
Would be fucking hysterical. And it's not crazy either. It's not crazy. Like Jerry Jones is never going to surrender.
No.
I would not be surprised if that's where he ends up. So that would greatly improve this offense. Rico is definitely the RB1, but that offense blows. So hard to get excited about a Rico start.
Again, you're probably going to play him though if he's your RB2. I think I'd rather have Jaylen. For a while, it was like I'd rather have someone like Rico over Warren. Where it's like, I'd rather have Warren now. Where like
for sure Warren now. Cooper Rush is not good for fantasy.
No. All right, last tier here of guys RBs 29 to 39. I got Nick Chubb, Roschon Johnson, Ameer Abdullah, Jerome Ford, Cam Akers, Trey Benson, Zach Charbonnet, Justice Hill, Audric Estimate, Gus Edwards, Jonathan Brooks. So Nick Chubb had his J.K. Dobbins performance last night. The offense looked good and scored 2 goal line touchdowns. Didn't really look that efficient, but got the job done. He looked definitely the best he'd looked all year. And it was pretty cool to see Nick Chubb help get them that win in the snow. I'm always rooting for Nick Chubb. Just shocked he's still out there doing this. But, what are you going to do? Roschon Johnson, how injured is Swift? Now, this is a terrible matchup. Minnesota is the second stingiest 2 running backs. Chicago's point total isn't great. But Roschon Johnson, 10 touches or 11 touches last week.
He's a touchdown guy.
Clearly has the goal line role. So I think he's got some potential. Abdullah is the one that I'm intrigued with this week. Aiden's laughing because we record the waiver episode. I said I don't want to spill all my secrets, but I really like Ameer Abdullah. And I tipped it off a little bit in the injury section as somebody that you could potentially.
I just said Dylan Laube first to kind of throw off your sound, but yeah. But you did.
I got too many people I play in a league with playing with me, and I got to be careful here. I can't show my cards. But now there's a very good chance Ameer Abdullah is still on the waiver wire, just sitting there right now in your league. If you are in a dire RB2 situation because of flexes, injuries, whatever, I think Abdullah is a good play. Abdullah is going to lead this backfield. I don't really feel super comfortable with him as a rusher. Definitely like him as a receiver out of the backfield. And Gardner Minshew's a check down Charlie. So Surtain is going to blanket Jacoby Myers. Brock Bowers will do his Brock Bauer thing, but I think that opens up a lot of underneath to drop-offs, and I think Ameer Abdullah can really benefit from that. So Abdullah is somebody that you could plug and play at this point. I think he might walk into 10-plus touches and opportunities this week. You could do a lot worse, in my opinion. Outside of that, Cam Akers is trending up. Trey Benson, we talked about him at the beginning. I'm very intrigued to see what he looks like coming out of the bye. Could be nothing, could be something, you never know. Charbonnet, very clear defined role, but he's not viable, in my opinion, unless K9 were to miss time. Justice Hill, game script dependent. So if the Ravens go pass heavy, Justice Hill's a decent play based off of how good he is as a receiver. Estime, Sean Payton's a good as guess. And then, again, we're bearing the lead here. We waited 40 minutes to talk about Jonathan Brooks, but John Brooks is making his debut. I sent Aiden a video of John Brooks just catching a pass in a drill. I was like, gosh, that was smooth. And Aiden was like, I was expecting way more.
I thought he was going to do like a nice cut, maybe like a little.
It was fluid. It was fluid. That's all I'm saying. I just saw no wasted movement from Jonathan Brooks. I have never seen a team slow play a injury like they have.
Yeah, I did not expect it to be week 12 when we saw John Brooks for the first time, but I'm excited nonetheless. They drafted him that high for a reason. He was, the running back 1 in this class. So we'll see. Pretty brutal matchup to start. You've got
rough start. He's probably going to get what?
Toughest. Yeah.
15% of the snaps. He's going to be pretty light.
If he touches the ball 6 times, I think that feels like a victory. If he did more than that, I'd be shocked. But we'll see. That's the only guy here that I'm really excited about. I think we touched on them both during waivers. But Cam Akers and Roschon both feel like they're very close to taken over from their injured veteran ahead of them. So, and they're playing each other, which is funny too. So don't be surprised if one of them have a good game.
Did Swift practice this week?
I just saw he was questionable. Let's see if he practiced today. He was able to get through a full practice on Friday.
Oh yeah, he's gonna play.
He's gonna play.
Okay, it's good to know.
But I do think I do think he'll be limited to some degree, but I don't know. Who knows? Full practice is a good sign.
Oh, thank God. Austin Seibert's returning, the kicker for the Commanders.
I dropped him in another league. I was like, dude, figure the fuck out. It's been like 5 weeks.
I've held him the entire time. I'm not dropping that guy. They kick so many fucking they quits like field goals. Yes, give me all the field goals.
He's still like kicker number 5, isn't he?
Yes. And then I held Bosworth through the bye week. I was like, I'm not dropping the Bos. This man is too electric to drop. when you have a coach who's that hell-bent on kicking field goals and you're that automatic. But all right, man, that's it. 39 running backs. If you have to start anyone that's not one of these 39, I am so sorry for you. That is brutal. That is brutal.
If you got to fire up like a, I don't know who else.
Dylan Laube.
I was trying to think. I was like, wait, where are the Jaguars? And I was like, they're one of the fucking 6 teams on bye. Thanks, Roger.
You've got Dylan Laube.
Asshole.
That's about right. Jaleel McLaughlin is always one of these guys.
Yeah.
Man.
Motor. You got Motor Singletary potentially.
Never been more Jover for Motor.
But someone might have to start him out there. But yeah. 39 running backs. We'll have wide receivers. We'll have wide receivers up next. So
yeah, man. All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Until next time.